Alright, noted already. Alright, so hello everyone, we are from Group Asset Z. The topic that we are going to talk today is the disposal of offshore platform. Okay, so offshore platform is a large structure that extract and process the petroleum and natural gas. Okay, according to the research from Tommy in 2009, there is 328 offshore platforms in Malaysia, and 48% have exceeded the lifetime of 25 years. Therefore, it is very important for us to study the decommissioner of offshore platform. Alright, and the focus today is the Ketam decommissioner project in Sabah. Okay, so the Ketam decommissioner, the Ketam platform is installed in 1984, and the decommission of the platform is done in 2003. Okay, so the type of decommission is the complete removal of the four-leg jacket structure. So now I'll pass to Haiqal Safin to explain why we need to dispose it.
Okay, before we dive further into the detailed process of asset decommissioning, what is exactly asset decommissioning? It is the process of removal of an asset once it comes to the end of its productive life. Okay, now let's talk about oil and gas in the aspect of oil and gas industry. So over the coming decade, 6,100 assets are expected to come to the end of its economic life and about to cease operation. So, and the process of decommissioning is actually more complicated, more complex. Talking in oil and gas industry are more complex rather than the installation process. So why is that so? So for that, I will let Suzuki explain the detailed process of the asset decommissioning of oil and gas industry.
Okay, thank you, Safin. So now I'm going to talk about the process of decommissioning. The first step is the project management, so which are the review of contractor obligation, engineering analysis, operational planning, and contracting, which to be undergo for 3 years before a well dries run. So the second step is the platform preparation, which means that the platform has to be prepared for decommissioning. Tanks, processing equipment, and piping must be flushed and cleaned. So the third step is the well plugging and abandonment. So the well plugging includes data collection, preliminary inspection, selection of abandoned methods, submittal of an application for the Bureau of Safety and Environmental Enforcement approval. While the well abandonment involves well entry preparation, use of a slick line unit, filling the well with fluid, removal of downhole equipment, and many more. So the fourth step is the conductor removal, which consists of 3 procedures, which are severing, pulling, sectioning, and offloading. And there's also height limit for the conductor to be removed from the ocean floor. So the fifth step is the mobilization and demobilization and platform removal. So the platform removal can be affected by the cost. So the cost can be reduced if the initial design has studied the methodology of decommissioning and amended the change design to suit it. So the last step will be the material disposal and site clearance. Platform material can be refurbished and reused. So to ensure the proper site clearance, there are 4 steps, which are pre-decommissioning survey, post-decommissioning survey, diverse survey, and test trawling. So now I will pass my time to Bakri.
Okay, thank you. So let's move on to the legal and regulation involved. Okay, so in Malaysia, the domestic regulatory framework is in several statutes such as Fisheries Act 1985, Occupational Safety and Health Act 1994, etc. and etc. Okay, so we don't want actually any conflict with the stakeholder interest, so we have to follow the rules and regulation provided. And for the parties to production sharing contracts (PSC) with Petronas in Malaysia, they have to comply to the PPGUA, which is Petronas Procedure and Guideline to Upstream Activities. Now I will tell you about the standards and the regulation for the pre-project, project execution, and post-project. Okay, so for the pre-project, usually like always, all of the aspect in the decommissioning plan has to be reviewed and approved by Petronas under the abandonment review framework and the government. And then the government will approve you to the Jabatan Kuasa Kerja Zone Ekonomi Eksklusif (JKZEE) within the exclusive economic zone. Okay, so for the project execution, like always, the decommissioning plan has to be provided to the Petronas under PPGUA, and then HSE is very important: health, safety, and the environment. So you have to actually monthly update your HSE efficiency projects during the decommissioning plan. And finally, the post-project. You have to dispose every debris, every mess you make under the instrument between Petronas and contractor, and then a survey. After a few months, there will be a survey to actually know if there any negative impact to the environment and the aquamarine. That is all for the legal and regulation. Now I pass to Desmond for the cost.
Okay, so this is the cost for the decommissioning of the offshore oil rig in Southeast Asia. In this case, it's Ketam we are using. So the estimated cost was 27.6 million ringgit, and the actual cost is actually 62.4 million ringgit. And these are the simple breakdown of the cost lah. Well, abandonment is around 16.4 million. The most expensive one is the pipeline and platforms abandonment, which is around 35 million. The cheapest one is the post-abandonment survey, or others are just onshore scrapping 4 million, topside pipeline cleaning 3 million. And I'll pass the risk management of all this to Ang again.
Alright, so this is what happened if you didn't manage the planning properly. Okay, so the estimated for the Ketam platform decommissioning is actually ringgit Malaysia 27.6 million, but the actual cost is actually 62.4 million. So if the company actually only save for 5% of the total revenue to decommission, while the actual cost is 20%, so they will end up the money is not enough to cover the cost. Alright. So how we can perform the risk management? The Petronas opt for the best practicable environment option, BPEO. So under this option, there is 4 performance criteria, which is the technical feasibility, the environmental concerns, the health safety, and the cost. So one of these become the priority is the environmental impact assessment. Okay, so how they're going to choose the option to the way to decommission is depend on the gas emission and the energy consumption in the transportation of the structure will be considered in the decommission process. So in conclusion, the measure in terms of cost, environment, technical and quality, social, safety and other relevant measurements should be considered before you plan any commission. Okay, in many years to come, the offshore platform will increase in a tremendous way. So it is very important for us to study the decommission of offshore platform. Thank you very much. This is the end. So now I open for question. Yes, Gigi.
So you mentioned that the Ketam platform had undergo complete decommissioning.
Yeah.
Is there other ways to decommissioning an offshore platform?
Okay, glad you asked. So there is actually 3 ways, the 3 alternatives to carry out a decommission. Alright, so one is, like I said, remove the platform completely. The second one is partially, and the third one is just leave it. Alright, so for the complete or partial removal, the piece can be disposed on shore or offshore. So the structure will be sent back to the onshore and can be reused, can be recycled, or just sold it for scrap. Alright, and okay, so what if we carry out the offshore disposal? So if the offshore disposal, the structure will remain there or can be dumped underwater in the deep side water, and which will later become an artificial reef. Okay, so one example, I can give you one example, which is the Baran Act tripod jacket. So the platform is installed in 1968, and it was disposed on 1975, and so the project is undergoing the partial removal, and now it has become one of the tourist attraction in Miri. Yeah, so I hope this answers your questions. Can I have the second questions?
I've got a question.
Yeah.
Is there any similar aspects of legal and regulation regarding decommissioning between local and international?
Well, so similarities on legal regulation between local and international. Well, for us, local is Malaysia, right? And international, well, that's a bit broad, but we can like lower down the scope. It's just the same actually for UK, Australia, US, Malaysia. Some of them are the same, such as, well, for instance, the legal organization for health, safety, and environment. Everything must be focused on. Every process of HAC have to be updated for decommissioning process. Even if it's not decommissioning process, everything must have the rules of HAC. And other than that, of course, before you want to do something, you have to provide something. You have to provide the necessary document, the plan, the process of you want to do decommissioning. So that's why for the pre-project, you have to actually give everything that the government or the higher ups needed so that you can do the work itself. And then, like always, after safety and all that, everything is quite the same. Because even though the statutes or acts are different names, something like Petroleum 1984, something like that. But some of them are similar throughout international and local. So that's all. Any question?
Yeah. I have a question, which is, what's the differences of decommissioning cost of oil rig in the sea and outside of the sea?
The sea is Southeast Asia Sea, is it, or just okay? So it's depend on region and like how offshore the area is, and mostly it's because of weather difference because if you go to like, for example, the North Sea in the UK, it is more hazardy compared to Southeast Asia. We are quite calm compared to their seas so the cost is going to be cheap. It's going to be quite expensive in overseas compared to ours. Theirs is around like $22 million estimated, or ours is around estimated 9 million. But sometimes the estimations can go higher. Like the Ketam, this one is the best example. It was estimated 27 million, we get 62 million instead. So it should be much higher, but it's around estimated 20 something compared to the something like this. Alright, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Alright, so I believe it's 3 questions already. Thank you very much for your questions.